Welcome to the Canada-Vietnam Friendship Society's celebration of the 131st anniversary of the birth of Ho Chi Minh. My name is Steve Rutchinski, and I will be your moderator for today's program. So today we are celebrating the 131st anniversary of Ho Chi Minh's birth. May 19th is the actual anniversary of the birth of this historic leader of the Vietnamese people and founder of modern Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh is celebrated not only by the Vietnamese people, not only by communists and revolutionaries, but by all thinking, enlightened people for his contributions to humanity. In 1987, the General Conference of the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, formally recognized Ho Chi Minh as one of the great personalities who have left an imprint on the development of humanity. UNESCO acknowledged Ho Chi Minh as a Vietnamese hero of national liberation, a great man of culture, an outstanding symbol of national affirmation. He devoted his whole life to the national liberation of the Vietnamese people, contributing to the common struggle of peoples for peace, national independence, democracy, and social progress. End quote. UNESCO encourages member states to join in the commemoration of his birth in order to spread knowledge of the greatness of his ideals and of his work for national liberation. I chose to begin my remarks this way because it's a very compelling refutation of the propaganda that we hear from the ruling circles of the Western imperialist liberal democracies these days against communism and communist parties. The Canada-Vietnam Friendship Society promotes people-to-people friendship between Canada and Vietnam. The Canada-Vietnam Friendship Society upholds every individual's right to conscience and does not differentiate those who join with us or who participate in our activities on the basis of their ideology, communist or otherwise. Together, we proudly hail the life of the founder of the Communist Party of Vietnam, the leader of the Vietnamese people, and the father of modern Vietnam, a great man of enlightenment, of science and culture. Ho Chi Minh was born May 19, 1890, into a poor peasant scholar family. From an early age, he was imbued with the spirit of resistance of the people who for generations had struggled against brutal exploitation, forced labor, theft of their land, and other injustices under feudalism and later French colonial rule. In 1911, at the age of 21, Ho Chi Minh went abroad to deepen his knowledge of the Western world, which had already put an end to feudalism and ushered in a new social order espousing enlightenment. The French Revolution unfurled the motto, Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité. And Ho Chi Minh was in search of new ideas, modern approaches to bring an end to the colonial oppression of his homeland. He traveled the world. He saw firsthand the conditions of the people in several French colonies in Africa. He saw the deplorable conditions of Afro-American descendants of slaves in the United States, in the Caribbean and other countries. He shared weal and woe with the working people in America and Britain and elsewhere. He saw the banners of liberté, égalité, fraternité have been cast down in dishonor. He came to the conclusion that whether in the colonies or the colonizing countries, working people faced the same brutal oppressors. He wrote at the time that although the colors of skin were different, there were only two kinds of people on earth, exploiters and exploited. The only true friendship, he said, was with proletarian brothers. And his experience ultimately led him to the conclusion that it was their unity and support of one another that would end imperialism and colonialism, and it was the outlook that guided him to the end of his days. In 1917, Ho Chi Minh moved from England to France to be part of the Vietnamese patriotic movement. Paris was becoming a focal point of anti-colonial agitation among various exile communities, with the Vietnamese being one of the most numerous. The inter-imperialist First World War was a slaughter unlike any seen before, and the Great October Revolution of 1917 also had a profound impact on Ho Chi Minh, who was active with the French workers' movement as well. He followed the developments of the young Soviet Russia, including the founding of the Communist Internationale in Moscow in 1919, which was formed under the leadership of V.I. Lenin to assist the working people in all countries to achieve emancipation. In 1919, on behalf of the group of Vietnamese patriots living in France, Ho Chi Minh presented a petition of the Amanese people at the Versailles Conference, where the imperialist victors of the First World War were meeting to divide the world amongst themselves. The 8-point petition demanded recognition of the Vietnamese people's rights, including amnesty for political prisoners, freedom of assembly and association, equality before the law, the rule of law and not the rule by decree, and for direct political representation of Vietnamese people in the French National Assembly. The petition was ignored by the imperialist victors, who were preoccupied with redividing the world, the spoils of war, which were the colonies of the vanquished. Still, it had a great impact in rousing public opinion at home and abroad, and especially amongst the French working class. French police agents tried to hunt him down, but in vain. It was in July of 1920 that Ho Chi Minh was first introduced to Lenin's thesis on the national and colonial questions, which was published 1 month earlier in June 1920. Writing about this experience in 1967, shortly before his death, Ho Chi Minh recalled that there were political terms that were difficult to understand in this thesis, but by dint of reading it again and again, finally, I could grasp the main part of it, and what emotion, enthusiasm, clear-sightedness, and confidence it instilled in me. I was overjoyed to tears. Though sitting alone in my room, I shouted aloud as if I was addressing large crowds. "Dear martyrs, dear compatriots, this is what we need. This is the path to our liberation." Lenin's thesis on the national and colonial questions shone a harsh light of reality on the sophistries of liberté, égalité, and fraternity. Lenin argued out and demonstrated with facts that by the very nature of bourgeois democracy, the problem of equality in general, and national equality in particular, remained a formality, a mere abstraction. And it could not be otherwise. For there is no equality between exploiters and exploited, between oppressor nations and oppressed. Ho Chi Minh was also inspired by Lenin's call that the workers in the advanced countries must actively support the colonial peoples fighting for their freedom as a duty and as part of their own struggle for political power and emancipation. The entire policy of the Communist Internationale on the national and colonial questions rested on a closer union of the proletarians and working peoples of all nations and countries in joint revolutionary struggle to overthrow the landlords and exploiters as a condition of abolishing national oppression and inequality. Ho Chi Minh subsequently became a founding member of the Communist Party of France in 1920, and he immersed himself in revolutionary activity. He said, step by step, during the course of struggle, by studying Marxism, Leninism, and engaging in practical activities, I gradually understood that only socialism and communism could liberate the oppressed nations and the working people from slavery throughout the world. Ho Chi Minh saw that the struggle of the colonized people and the struggle of the workers in the mother countries as one struggle, and the necessity of each to support the other. In 1921, he wrote, "When hundreds of millions of ruthlessly oppressed people in Asia awake and abolish brazen exploitation by the greedy colonialists, they will form a powerful force which, while struggling to annihilate imperialism, will help their Western brothers in their cause to complete emancipation." Ho Chi Minh was relentless in his support of the struggles of the colonized people in Vietnam and elsewhere. And in 1922, in Paris, he founded the newspaper Le Paria, The Outsider, to serve that aim. In 1923, he attended the 5th Congress of the Communist Internationale held in Moscow. At that Congress, Ho Chi Minh took every opportunity to inform the delegates of the social and political conditions in Vietnam. He also criticized the conciliators in the French and European Communist parties for failing to do their duty to support the toilers in the colonies. Ho Chi Minh stayed on in Moscow following the 5th Congress, working with the Communist Internationale. Lenin's untimely death in 1924 profoundly saddened Ho Chi Minh, for he viewed Lenin as a mentor and a role model. In 1924, he was deployed by the Communist Internationale to Canton, China, where he worked diligently from the Leninist vantage point for organizing revolution in the colonized countries. He organized a party training school for patriotic Vietnamese to become Marxist-Leninist organizers. He taught that the most important aim of the Vietnamese people's struggle was national liberation, but that the strategic aim was socialism. He wrote the textbook for training the students. It was called The Revolutionary Path, which placed first-rate emphasis on the ideological training of students to strengthen their resolve and harden them for the battles ahead. The French colonial authorities sentenced Ho Chi Minh to death in absentia in October 1929 for the crime of inciting rebellion. Ho Chi Minh then presided over the founding of the Communist Party of Vietnam in Hong Kong in February of 1930. For a time, it was renamed the Indo-Chinese Communist Party, but the Communist Party of Vietnam celebrates February 3rd, 1930 as the date of its founding. He then issued an appeal to the Vietnamese people to join the party, to implement its program, to liberate their country, and to determine their own future themselves. It wasn't until February of 1941 that Ho Chi Minh returned to Vietnam after 30 years of revolutionary activity abroad. He founded the Vietnam Independence League, the Viet Minh, and led the guerrilla struggle to defeat the Japanese occupiers as well as the French colonialists who had capitulated to the Japanese in 1940. The Vietnamese people rose in 1945 and took political power after Japan had been defeated. Ho Chi Minh read the Proclamation of Independence from Ba Dinh Square in Hanoi on September 2nd. General elections to the National Assembly quickly followed on January 6, 1946, and Ho Chi Minh was chosen President of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. In March, the National Assembly adopted the first constitution for independent Vietnam, which was written under the leadership of Ho Chi Minh. The French, however, unleashed a war to recolonize Vietnam, assisted by the British and the US imperialists. That war lasted 9 years until their defeat at the Battle of Dien Bien Phu in 1954. Ho Chi Minh was often at the front, right where the fighting was taking place, encouraging and leading the people. Vietnam was partitioned by the Geneva Peace Conference of 1954 following the defeat of the French. It was to be temporary, pending a countrywide elections in 1956. This was agreed to by the Vietnamese negotiators in the interests of a peaceful solution. But the US refused to sign, and by 1956, knowing it was going to lose, the US canceled the elections. Instead, it attempted to lay claim to Vietnam. A series of anti-communist puppet regimes were installed, which carried out campaigns of terror against the people of the South. Faced with this aggression by the US, Ho Chi Minh consolidated the Democratic Republic of Vietnam as the base from which to fight to reunify the country. In the South, the National Liberation Front was formed to spearhead the people's resistance. The US launched a full-scale war on the North in 1964 after fabricating the Gulf of Tonkin incident. The US resorted to carpet bombing, to chemical warfare, to barbarous atrocities such as the My Lai massacre, but it was unable to conquer the Vietnamese people. Led by Ho Chi Minh and the Communist Party of Vietnam, the people of North and South drove out the US imperialists and reunified their country. Ho Chi Minh did not live to see that day, but he was certain of the victory because the cause of the Vietnamese people was just. In his final testament to the Vietnamese people on his 79th birthday, May 19th, 1969, 5 months before he passed away, and 6 years before the final victory of the Vietnamese people over US imperialism, Ho Chi Minh wrote, "Thanks to the close unity and dedication to the working class, the people, and the homeland, our party has been able, since its founding, to unite and organize and lead our people from success to success in a resolute struggle. No matter what difficulties and hardships lie ahead, our people are sure of total victory. The US imperialists will certainly have to quit. Our homeland will certainly be reunified. Our countrymen in the South and the North will be reunified under the same roof. We, a small nation, will have earned a signal honor of defeating through heroic struggle 2 big imperialist powers, the French and American, and making a contribution to the world's national liberation movement. Our rivers, our mountains, our people will always be. The American aggressors defeated, we will rebuild a country 10 times more beautiful." Now, there are many things that we could have and should have said about Ho Chi Minh today, but by his own words, it is this legacy of building the Communist Party from which all the achievements of Vietnam, as well as the greatness of his ideals, his love of humanity, his passion for the flowering of the human spirit, shines forth. The Socialist Republic of Vietnam today remains steadfast to the teachings, leadership, and legacy of Ho Chi Minh. And under the seasoned and tested leadership of the Communist Party of Vietnam, the country has successfully dealt with the external challenges in the world, the rivalry of the big powers, the crisis in the imperialist system of states, the COVID pandemic, and the implications of the digital, scientific, technological revolution, and so much more. Vietnam has taken its place in the world as a highly respected nation which is a force for peace, for freedom, for democracy at home and internationally. This is the legacy of the party of Ho Chi Minh, the legendary leader of the Vietnamese people and father of Vietnam and founder of the Communist Party of Vietnam. A great man of science and of culture, a man of enlightenment, who is celebrated for the greatness of his ideals. Long live the life and work of Ho Chi Minh. So next in our program, we're going to have a performance using traditional instruments, which was recorded last year on the occasion of the 130th anniversary of the birth of Ho Chi Minh in a concert hall in Vietnam. And that will be followed by an excerpt from a documentary that was made in 1990 in Vietnam to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the birth of Ho Chi Minh.